Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah. A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to the Legacy of Supers on HJN. And now, here we are. This is the last day of the Legacy of Supers itself. There's quite a few different villains and heroes and neutral things here and there that I've not been able to talk about, but you know what? I'm the guy who pretty much made all this happen. 62 days have passed, and this is the 63rd and final day. 2 months have passed. Now's the time for me to move on to something different. Because now what I'm going to be talking about is going to be another villain, of course. The last villain that I will be talking about here. The last topic for the Legacy of Supers as a whole, because I'll be going back to certain topics and the like without any sort of like subtitle applied to it. For the time being. I will have more crossovers and the like here and there, but for now, let's just go on ahead and talk about Shirt and Cap coming together. If you haven't already guessed what villain the black and red comes together to make, then well, here it is. The title down below pretty much gives it away already, but it's basically Carnage. Yeah. This is the last villain that I'm ever talking about here. And this is a perfect timing, the way I see it. Carnage is another one of those really big villains out there that has started to get some more attention lately, just like a handful of others here and there. Shocker, Scorpia. I've talked about those in the past, but now's the time that Carnage comes to my attention. It comes to our attention as a whole, but anyways. Carnage is, of course, the villain out there. Cletus Cassidy basically brings us the extreme levels of insanity just to be some sort of villainous thing out there. Cassidy, of course, is one of those types of villainous persons in general. And the reason for that is being because, well, the entire Cassidy family had been put in jail, or even worse, because they were just insane. Cletus Cassidy is, in fact, the latest in the Cassidy family to ever have this kind of level of insanity. I mean, it's enough to rival the Joker's level of insanity. It's enough to rival a handful of others here and there. Carnage is just one of those types that really makes you think of some others here and there. But Cletus Cassidy, of course, the story goes something like this. Cletus Cassidy, of course, is extremely insane because of the fact that, well, both of Cletus's parents had either been killed or put in jail. And the main reason for, well, one getting killed, one getting put in jail as well, because, well, Cletus actually ends up killing the family's dog. Yeah, that's right. So it triggers a chain reaction within the entire family, where basically a grandparent of Cletus ends up getting killed, and then eventually, well, one of the parents ends up getting killed by the other. And as a result, that one ends up getting sentenced to prison. Cletus Cassidy, of course, ends up getting sent to an orphanage because there are no other parents left that Cletus could be held to custody. But of course, let's not forget that Cassidy's insanity kept on going. It kind of reached its peak at a point where 11 murders have been caused, and also a large level of other crimes, including a huge amount of arson, had taken place. Especially in the same orphanage that Cletus had been staying at for some time. No joke. Cletus Cassidy had actually burned down an entire orphanage and eventually committed 11 different murders. 11 murders that the public had known about. But eventually, of course, as soon as Cletus came into adulthood, that was the time when the arrest had been made. Cletus's prison cellmate actually turned out to be Eddie Brock. It was no surprise that the Carnage that we now know and love had been made from the same exact type of symbiotic goo, the Clintar. And that was because Venom actually produced some sort of an offspring that had been left behind. As soon as Eddie Brock broke out of prison with the Venom symbiote intact, the offspring actually clung onto Cletus Cassidy's hand with a large cut on it. And that, of course, is what makes the symbiote of Cletus Cassidy's red. Because it was full of blood. Yeah. Blood and symbiote coming together into one, and that's eventually where the name Carnage comes into play. Simply put, because, well, psychotic mass murder, of course, wouldn't be complete without a huge load of blood all over the body. And I will say that Cletus Cassidy's symbiote is just one of a type out there. There are a handful of other symbiotes that have also existed, but Cletus Cassidy's is just one of a kind. Carnage is, of course, one of those many villains out there that has a slew of different weapons, abilities, skills, and also, not to forget, the psychotic dialogue that comes out of Carnage, which is impressive. After all, we actually are going to be getting a new Venom film out there. The Venom series with Tom Hardy, of course, has already gotten pretty big so far with 2018's Venom. But pretty soon we'll be getting ourselves a sequel with Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson. Yes. The same old Woody Harrelson from such films like Kingpin, the Zombieland series, and Midway. It's about time we see Woody Harrelson on screen again. But you know what? That film's not coming out for a little while. And I will say that, well, there's still a lot of other things I probably could talk about Carnage, including extremely fast speed, the slew of different weapons that Carnage can make in the same way as Venom can make different weapons. Not to mention how Carnage also can use a huge amount of different tentacles to go around all over the place. And how could you ever forget? Carnage is just insane as so many things ever known. So, you know what? Even the death battle with Carnage being put up against Lucy from Elfin Lied, that was pretty impressive as well. So, you know what? I guess it's just another way you can probably tackle on the whole thing itself. Well, anyways, that's just it here. It's all over now. Legacy of Supers is over, done, finito. So, ciao, au revoir, domo arigato, jianne, and all that good stuff. Or just simply put, goodbye for now. I will be back here on Honest J Nowak with a lot of other topics around. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.